So when I said that I got top 20 with this team, I wasn't lying, but I will say that the reason it was easy wasn't necessarily because this team is that great or because of my skill. It's just that nobody's playing this tier, and so the ladder isn't very high. That being said, I do think this team is pretty good, and I do think I sort of more or less know what I'm doing. So I would say that you might want to use this team because it is pretty decent. Now, this is almost any ability UU. It's another other metagame for the month, and similarly to almost any ability normal, it doesn't allow Terra, and Pokemon are allowed just about any ability, with a few notable exceptions. And so because it basically plays like a powered down version of the OU metagame, I figured I'd give it a shot. And there are a few returning faces that people may be familiar with. Goodra is chief among them. Goodra is actually a decent regen vest Pokemon, and of course it gets maybe pushed out of the way for more notable versions like Swampert or even Roaring Moon, but regen vest Goodra is very good, and in this tier especially, it's extremely good. It's basically the best regenerator Pokemon ever, and well, maybe not ever, but it's very good. And in just about every metagame that allows you to put regenerator on Goodra, that's what you're going to see, and you're going to see a lot of it. So really, regenerator Goodra is going to let you do whatever the heck you want. We also have Flame Body Chestnut to wall physical Pokemon. So we have Goodra for special, we have Chestnut for physical, and it has Flame Body so that it can burn things. And that actually is really good because even though Chestnut is quite bulky, it's not like super physical bulky. And so you want to be able to punish physical attackers that touch you. Now, Mamoswine is one of those physical attackers that you can't really punish. And this team is a little bit weak to Mamoswine compared to some others, but you do have ways to mitigate that. You have Slitherwing, which has Tinted Lens First Impression, which gives you some form of priority, and also is a fighting type, which is scary for Mamoswine, of course. Mamoswine is a very good Pokemon in this tier, although I will say that, of course, because my physical wall is Chestnut, I'm going a little bit biased towards saying that it's really strong. But I do think that Mamoswine is one of the better Pokemon in the tier. Now, Goodra and Chestnut form the defensive core and just allow us to do just about anything we want to do. Chestnut gives us our hazards, fights, and that's of course useful for getting focus sashes broken and the like. And then for the rest of the team, we have a dual weather core with Landorus having Desolate Land and Raikou having Primordial Sea. Of course, it's very obvious as to why Primordial Sea Raikou is a thing. You get a water weather ball to hit the ground types, you get accurate thunders, and so that totally checks out. Nobody's surprised by that. Desolate Land Landorus is not immediately apparent as to why that would be good. Landorus, of course, has Sheer Force normally, and such a good ability on it that it gets banned from OU in normal play. Now, in almost any ability, having a broken ability like Sheer Force isn't really news to anybody. A lot of Pokemon have much more broken abilities, so nobody's writing home about that. Why then would I use Desolate Land? Well, there's a couple reasons. First of all, I am a ground type. It's really nice to have a water immunity like that. Of course, it's not a full water immunity, so if somebody switches the weather after you, you're going to get hit by the water types. But it is decently hard to change the weather. So you have to basically have Primordial Sea and come in after me, right? And nobody really wants to switch in on Chestnut. Sorry, on Landers. Nobody wants to switch in on Landers. I saw Chestnut go down there and I got confused for a second. The second reason why you want the Desolate Land on Landorus is because there are certain Pokemon that might have Earth Eater, like maybe a Registeel or something, and with Earth Eater, you of course can't touch them with the Earth power. You're going to want to hit them with a Fire type move instead. And similarly, maybe in OU version of almost any ability, you might want to hit something like a Skarmory or a Corviknight that doesn't have well-baked body. Of course, most of them do, so that's a fringe case, but it does give you that extra option. I've been surprised how many times having fire type coverage on my Landorus Incarnate actually was valuable. And it doesn't really make a lot of intuitive sense, because what value added do you get from having a fire move when there are so many other good abilities that you could have on your Landorus? But I actually do like the Desolate Land. It also gives you another form of weather control, which, there's so many guys running around with the Desolate Land, Ordeal Seas. It's nice to be able to switch in and just turn the weather off. Here they have a Scarf Raging Fury Arcanine. They should have not run Raging Fury. They should have just had the Flare Blitz Recoil, because that allows me to go into Raikou. Here I don't use my brain, and I allow them to take my Raikou with the Water Absorbed Dawn Fan, which is unfortunate because I could have really used that. Now here you're going to see an interesting tech. This Excadrill has Swords Dance Aerial Ace, and that seems like a really gimmicky set. Aerial Ace is not a good move necessarily, and it's not even stab on the Excadrill, but Sinistra is actually a legitimate threat in this tier, and you want to be able to force that KO if at all possible. You also need to worry about opposing Chestnuts, and I think Chestnut is a really good Pokemon. Here I had to sack it, unfortunately, because this Typhlosion really strong. Not sure what its ability is. Whatever its ability is, it's a problem, because usually these Typhlosions are running the Desolate Land themselves. This particular team actually is Drought Pheasantipity. If I hadn't given up my Raikou like that, this would be a lot less of an issue, because I could come in on the Typhlosion and turn off its weather and deny its corruption. But I had to get it weakened. Now at this point my opponent thinks they've won because they have 2 steel types here, and I'm not going to let their Typhlosion come in. That was really obvious of a switch in, and so they think, that they can beat me, but I have a ground immunity to their Dawn Fan, so that's not an issue. So, alright, here we see a Palafin. Palafin is not that great of a Pokemon in this tier, because you don't actually get to run a fun ability. You have to run Zero to Hero if you actually want to transform. And so that's why it's allowed in almost any ability, and that's why it's all the way down in UU. Because you'd much rather be running good Pokemon, but nothing against Palafin if that's your guy. Knock yourself out. This Chestnut here thinks they're going to beat me with their Iron Press set, but I also have Iron Defense Body Press, and they're going to get burned by my Flame Body. Flame Body is just super nice to be able to stop physical threats from being an issue at all. Because once you're burned, nothing you can do will break past my +6. Let's see, have I talked about all the guys on the team? Slitherwing has Tinted Lens. It's really obvious as to what that would be useful for. It's crazy how strong the Tinted Lens can be, because it's not like you're running a boosting damage move. It's just saying that there's no Pokemon that can resist you. And when this guy comes in, he's Choice Banded. I think I'm running Jolly, I forget. But if you run Adamant, it's really hard for anything in the tier to live. Even the defensive walls like Quagsire are getting 2-hit KO'd. Insane. Again, I'm not running Tough Claws on them. This Normalized Gengar is a little bit annoying, but they have to skill swap in order to be able to do anything. And as long as I sacrifice another ability, then I can just come in with my draft done. Besides that, I don't know, this team was alright. I think the Gengar with Normalized doesn't really work unless you're Mega Gengar. In every metagame that people have access to different abilities on Gengar, you always see people trying out the Normalized set. I never find it to be that threatening unless it's like you have some way to trap me. And I just don't see that in this metagame. All I have to do is switch out. And of course it forces switches, which is cool. And you get a fun little ability on your side. But it's just not that great. This Mew interaction is hilarious. This Mew is bulk up stacking things. You'd think that would be Chestnut. And you will see that it does. But they don't play it the best. And if they had gotten a burn, it would not have beaten me, because I'm just that tank. So at this point, all I'm trying to do is just bust their substitute so that I can go in with my faster Raikou and hopefully one-shot it. right? It's got the defense boost, but it doesn't have spit off boosts. And I'm two-shotting their substitute. So at this point, they actually give up on going for substitute. I think maybe it was a misplay. I'm not really sure. They don't get burned. If they had got burned, they would have died here. But they live on 1%, but that's okay. Because since they weren't able to get up a substitute, even with the +6 defense, I'm still able to come in first impression. The Slitherwing is just such a beast. Here we go, Gudra, and Gudra is the backbone of this team. Gudra really just enables you to use whatever you want here, because nothing beats it. Like, I don't know what this Enamorous set is. It can't be Triage because that's banned. Whatever it is, it wasn't break. Here they think they win because, again, got the extra drill, it's a threat. But I can just rapid spin on you, break your balloon, then Earthquake, Earthquake. In. So this extra drill is really situationally useful. It has the Aerial Ace Earthquake combo. Of course, the rapid spin is useful when you need to get hazards off, and most people do have hazards, but not all of them do. And so you won't always need to use the extra drill. It comes in handy every once in a while. And really, you're just trying to use your 3 offensive Pokemon, and then your 2 defensive walls. The extra drill is just there to be useful situationally. That Raikou was sort of weird. First of all, it has Electric Surge. It doesn't actually have the correct ability. It should be Hadron Engine. So my opponent needs to switch that to Hadron Engine. But funnily enough, that sort of powered up my Raikou and allowed me to shot them with Thunder. This Slitherwing is a bulk up Leech Life set, which I don't think is playing Slitherwing the way you're supposed to play it. Really, Slitherwing wants to force switches, and then you turn out on the switch, and because you have Tinted Lens, right? That's the whole point. And then you also want to be able to Fimp, and you don't really get that with a bulk life set. Here we see that when Typhlosion has to run the Desolate Land itself, it does a lot less damage to Gudra. Also, I'm assuming that was probably Scarf over effect or something like that. I'm not sure exactly how that maths out, but this one is a lot weaker than the other one. And we can see the Gudra just comes in and chews everything. I just wanted to scout out there. You know that I have the Raikou. So are you going to go for Eruption? If you are, I'm willing to sack that Mon. Not doing anything at this point. But I just don't want to lose my Gudra, because it's so important to not lose Typhlosion out. So here that was a safe switch in the Landorus. And obviously the Landorus, you sort of have to guess, okay, is the Registeel going Well-Baked Body, Eruption, who knows? But having the option to hit either one is really valuable. Here we see another Gengar, and I'm not really sure what this opponent's whole idea was. I'm probably just looking at Pokemon in the tier that look fun to use and going with that. Haxorus, not the greatest. Fortunately, I get lucky with their double. They try to predict. I'm not really sure what they're trying to predict. Maybe Chestnut, and they went into Mamoswine. Actually went into Slitherwing, and that forces them to sack their Mew. At this point, I don't really need the Excadrill. I don't really care too much about Regieleki, because I got the Gudra, and so since they always carry Refrigerate, right? It's not like Excadrill block them. And this Poltegeist, I'm pretty sure, is defensive, not offensive, which is sort of funny. You got like Drain Sap and whatever, so I'm sure that Poltegeist can be defensive. It's just that you would much prefer to have Sinistcha over Poltegeist, I think. There they switched in the Regieleki on my Chestnut, predicting a Spike, I think, but I wasn't going to let that happen. Here they make an okay double, but because I've seen it be a lot bulkier of a set, and they have shown Calm Mind, I'm not expecting them to Shell Smash up, so I know I can just go into Landorus, and at this point, the game's basically over. Landorus, even if it doesn't KO here, and you see it doesn't, if it had been Sheer Force, it would have KO'd, obviously. But we're not running that set. No, we're able to just two-shot it. Even if they'd KO'd me, I had Slitherwing it back. And then this team is really cool. This opponent brought a lot of threats you wouldn't normally see, and used them to pretty good effect. This Meloetta, you can see, is extremely tanky. Like, that took no type of damage. So I think that is pretty fun. Now, unfortunately, the Meloetta doesn't do much more beyond tanking a hit. The Jirachi, however, I should have predicted to be, a special attacker, and I should have gone into Hydra, because that Scarf Steel Beam with Magic Guard is really annoying. Now here my opponent makes a bit of a misplay, and they stack their Avalugg basically for no good reason. They have a Flame Body Gligar. That's what they should have gone into. I get that they're trying maybe to keep hazards off the field, but I'm willing to trade my Chestnut into the Avalugg, or at least just get rid of the Avalugg. A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush, and I'm not going to waste time setting up spikes against the Avalugg. And you're never going to beat my Chestnut, so why did they stay? And I don't really know. The Gligar switches out here into our Chaladon. As I do get up a spike there, if I'd gone for Body Press, I probably would have been in a lot better position. This is our Chaladon, it's pretty scary. Now, funnily enough, our Chaladon, I believe, also can do the Steel Beam Magic Guard combo, which I think is better than when Jirachi does it, just because it's a lot stronger of a Pokemon. But I suppose Jirachi has the speed, and they maybe didn't want to do the same exact Pokemon on this team. Here, we're just going to go for the Rapid Spin, just try to get these hazards off the field. I could have Earthquake. If I had an Iron Head, they would have gotten obliterated, so I am surprised they stayed in. There, they actually died at EQ, which is sort of funny to me, just because I always sort of think of Grimmsnarl as being tanky, but the only reason it's ever tanky at all is because it always gets a Reflect turn 1, right? So, you can see that when it doesn't have the Reflect up, it is not that tanky. And of course, it was doing a lot of damage with Body Slam. I'm guessing it was Pixelate Body Slam or something. And so, probably more offensive, but anyway. Okay, they Trick, which I think was a bit of a misplay. On the one hand, yeah, you did make my Goodra a lot weaker Spadef-wise, but I can just switch it out to regen anyway. And now you're slower than my Raikou, so that's going to be really strong in the end game. Here I'm going to force you out, sack your Gligar. Now they have no more ground type, which is really nice. And I can still keep my Slitherwing even if it is burned. At this point, a Goodra isn't going to be able to take 2 Electro Shots from this Archaladon. Archaladon is actually a pretty big threat. I do believe that Archaladon is ranked decently highly on the viability rank for this tier. However, Specs Aura Sphere is just going to one-shot it. Here, I don't want to be locked into Aura Sphere. I'd rather be locked into Thunder. They don't actually make a good prediction there, and they U-turn out. I think they should have just attacked with, like, Psychic or something. But either way, it doesn't matter what they did do, because, like I said, my plan was always to just sack this guy and then go Thunder twice. And because they tricked that Choice Scarf away, there's nothing they can do at this point, and they just get KO'd by Thunder. So Raikou is really living the dream here. This is what it wants to do in NU, right? NU Rain is never good, and when it is good, usually Rain gets nerfed by a ban or two. So manual Rain is really not that great, and you don't get the unlimited Rain turns that you do when you get Cordial C. Having access to fully accurate Thunders, threatening a really strong Weather Ball, really nice for Raikou. This is a clear and obvious threat, I think, here. I think you could switch out Landers for something else. I don't think this team needs to have that Landers, especially because you already have a ground type here. I think you could have a fire type there, maybe. That would be good. You could also have a fire type resist or immunity, because this team is also very weak to fire types. You saw those Typhlosions were really threatening. If I had a single well-baked body guy on this team, that would just be a non-issue. So, this team is pretty good, but you can always spice it up and change some things to make it more to your liking. I think it's hard to say no, though, to the Goodra Chestnut core. And then the Slitherwing Raikou core is great for that Volt turn, with really hard to switch into and Specs dual combo. So I thought this team was pretty good. And this tier is decently fun. Maybe I'll play it again. If I get any higher on the ladder, I guess I'll let you guys know. But for today, at least, that'll be it. Catch you guys next time.